We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. I know y'all tired of it, but we got a new season of thePass. Welcome to season 8, the Mamba Year. Podcast available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of your podcast platforms. Here you'll get a dose of content related to tech, the productivity world, and most importantly, how to be a better you. The theme for this year, personally, is receiving grace. And we definitely want to do better with receiving it and being open to being a better us from who we were a year ago. So this is season 8 of thePass, and I hope you all enjoy. What is up? What's going on? Episode 412 of thePass is here. I am your host, BT, and it took a while, had a little bit of a delay, and I called myself thinking I was doing something with what I just did, but it didn't work, so it's cool. But we back, man. We literally just did a show not even 24 hours ago, and decided to set up everything and let's run it back. And I told you all at the beginning, at the end of that show, if you do not want to hear about Bronny, you may not want to listen in. And I got no problem with that, but I will be going into a bit of a tangent rant discussion about that, among other things as well. But hope you all are doing amazing. I had a little bit of a delay, nothing crazy, but I was sitting here. Of course, one of my friends decides to send me this video that I've not seen in such a long time. Well, it's been a good minute. And I'm like, oh, she went there. Okay, I see what we own. So I was like, you always got to keep one ready because you know somebody gonna send you a video and you're like, oh, I need to let me find a way to get my get back. And sure enough, I found like a true classic video that I'll just share. If you get a chance and you go on YouTube, just look up if Rick James was African or African Rick James. That's all I'm going to tell you. You look that up. I'm not going to put it in the show notes, but I want you to look it up in your leisure and have fun with that video. That's all I'm going to say. But I had a couple of topics that were cliff-hung from the last show, as well as some topics to discuss. And we're going to make this a good, flowing, fluid, simple, consistent show because y'all know how it go. And we're gonna make it be what it be, man. So I hope y'all can kind of sit back, enjoy the ride. So from our last attempt of recording, from the last show we did, and kind of building up to now, we are now officially we've surpassed the halfway mark of the year. And this is kind of that time where if you've been listening to my show enough times or are a true supporter of knowing how we roll, we get into talking about kind of like an overview of the first half of the year and what to expect in the second half of the year. First half was very eye-opening. There were a lot of moments that I was made aware of how important it is to truly slow down, be in the moment, don't rush anything, let life do what life is intended to do. More than anything, not overcomplicating the process. There were some internal battles with a couple things. I know, if nothing else, the biggest thing that I can say stands out the most is that I found myself doing more walk casts in the first half of the year. So if you've been listening to the show, you've been supporting the show for a bit, you will hear me do some shows where I'm out and about just doing my regular walks. And while I'm doing the walk, I'll either wear my AirPods. I've recently started wearing my studio buds, the Fit. I found that the Fit earbuds are better for podcast recording than the studio buds. And if you're not sure the difference between the two, I will add links related to those so you can see the difference. I've done a couple wired recordings here and there. I don't really rock with those too well because it can get a little rough. I've done some wireless mic attempts with the wireless lavalier microphones. Those have been okay. But ironically, since doing more of the morning walks during the week, as well as if I'm able to, on Saturdays, I've been able to add more recordings in. I've also been trying to get more videos, like a post-walk conversation, I guess you could say. Those have been fun. Those have been a joy to kind of throw out there. So, yeah, man, we definitely making it fluid, making it flow, keeping it consistent. More work to do as always, I think. And after having my guest on the show, if you have not had a chance, please listen to 411. I'm not against you listening to 412, don't get me wrong, but episode 411 is one that you are definitely going to gain some information. And one of the things that stood out with me, especially with a lot of things that I'm trying to work on and continue to work on, is the importance of, if you're buying courses or you're buying books or you're buying templates, do the course, read the book, utilize the templates. Like, I've had multiple Notion templates that have been shared with me that I've purchased. I recently, and this is a tech tip, but this is also something for any of my iPad users who may have experienced this. Recently, GoodNotes came out with version 6, and there are some drawbacks or some non-attractive things about GoodNotes 6, but you have the option to revert back to GoodNotes 5 if you've paid for it. Because it's kind of odd, and I haven't really done any research on this, so this may be my own little tidbit to do on my own time, but if I've already paid for the product and you've updated and made changes, I should still be able to use those features now that I'm coming in with S6. But I think the difference also, and I'm probably getting ready to answer my own question, the difference maker of the bigger X factor is GoodNotes is a one-time purchase with 5. 6, they're doing the subscription, and I'll be the first to admit I'm very indifferent about subscriptions, but I also realize sometimes you need to utilize them. Ironically, I just went through a very messy divorce, breakup, split with Spotify. So I still have Spotify on, like, even on my laptop. I'm looking at it now, sitting right in the corner. But I don't I won't be on as active with sharing links from Spotify as I normally am. I will be primarily Apple Music. And in reality, like, someone asked me, they was like, well, what forced the change? And the reality was I was using both, and I'm like, I genuinely don't need to have both. I can commit to one and let the other go. Apple I've held on to because I pretty much have, like, the package deal for Apple Music, Apple TV, and I believe there's a third product in there. I forget it. And storage. I have access to, I think it's 2 terabytes. It's either 2 terabytes or 200 gigs, one of the two. But I'm utilizing that. So it's no point in, like, pulling and tugging between the two just for the sake of. So that decision was made for me without me knowing, and I don't regret it. So I'm kind of rolling with what I got. Business was on a bit of a idle point. I've been attending the meetings for RVA Works, but it's been bringing more awareness to me to start allotting time for my business. And ironically, again, on 411, my sis Kim talked about that as well. She broke down how important it is to, if you're going to do a course, you have to treat it as a course and dedicate the time to working the course, because in not doing so, you're then putting you're reducing the return on investment from what you just acquired. Like I have a nice plethora of Udemy courses that I'm looking at, and I'm like, so we need to work on these like now. And when you're put in that position to like see it, you have no choice but to acknowledge it for what it is. And that's what I'm working harder on doing, is like acknowledgement, self-awareness, better management. The first half, and definitely building in the second half, money management, time management, like, are non-negotiable now. If I don't need to do it, I'm not doing it, and it's okay. I'm not going to be upset. I also look at it as utilizing the opportunities to develop as a person, develop as a friend, as most people, as we joked about a couple episodes, as Unc. Just being there and being supportive where it matters most, but also more than anything else, being available to myself. That has really been like a staple point this first half that I've caught on to and really latched on to, understanding the importance of. I've made a bit of a tech change, because a lot of people always love to hear, I'm always giving you all the conversations about, if you're using too many screens. Like, ironically, right now, I would be kind of in like the screen maximum quota space, if you will, because I have 3 screens in front of me, and I could it's too far. I could kind of get away with doing 4, but I'm not going to, because the room that I'm in, they have like an extra screen or space available, but I'm not going to ruffle any feathers or make anything more than what it needs to be. So there's that. My health has been in its fluctuating phase, but it's getting a lot better. The beginning of the year, I will admit, I did a good amount of traveling. I need to do another travel fix soon, to kind of not only get away, but also to like take a genuine reset for myself and focus on myself and focus on my well-being and how good or bad things may or may not be. So working through that, remaining positive while remaining productive has really become like a theme without being a theme. And I didn't realize the magnitude of that until like looking at a lot of the things that I've been working on. Like, even right now, as I'm talking to y'all, I'm looking at like, I have these different widgets, and I'm like, if I'm going to use extra desk space or real estate for my screens, I may as well use what I got and set everything up in a more cleaner and more streamlined manner, instead of having everything on one screen, since the second screen is kind of just being used just to show me the time, which, yeah, I can see how much time is running, but the time has been running, the audio's been running, so we're rolling with it, and things are on the up and up. Getting into a better, one thing that I'm going to push a lot harder for myself the second half, and I'm going to talk about the other part too, because I want to talk about this first, is having the podcast has been structured well, it's been flowing well, but I always am looking to find ways to make it better. Pushing to get in a better zone or a better groove with that will be something that I'll be working towards. So be on the lookout for that as you continue to listen to shows. Twitter, X, and Threads. I'm sorry, X and Threads. I don't know why I said Twitter, X, and Threads, but X and Threads will be seeing a lot more of me. And what I mean by that is I'm looking to grow those spaces by talking about a lot more online in the technical writing space, the digital writing space, and not being as reluctant to it. Now, interestingly enough, we do have our affiliate with Brick, so I still do the Brick from time to time where I'm shutting down applications. Right now, it's been shut down for a little less than an hour. A friend of mine who is a designer generated an idea for me, and I'm trying it out. Of normally my icons are all set up in like groups like financial, social media, productivity, notes, Google, etc. Threw all of that out of the window, and she put up a post saying, tell me you're a designer without telling me you're a designer. And she shows her wallpaper, her homepage, and you see the colors like red, green, blue, orange, and it's the color of those apps, and the apps are separated based on those colors. And I'm like, that is something I'm open to trying. So what I did was I went through and I put I put everything together, and then I went back and redid it again, and I was like, oh, this is multicolor. So like all of my Google suite is in multicolor because all Google applications use blue, red, yellow, and green. So there was no need in trying to like figure out, oh, I'm put this here, put this there. It's like, no, all of them gonna stay in one. Now, if Gmail was only using red, I would have put Gmail in red, no problem. But they're in a more structured, organized format, and that'll be an adjustment for a while. I may put them in alphabetical order in those sections, but I haven't gotten there yet. So, being patient with the process by far. I just thought about something. And I think I know the answer to this, but I'm curious. Okay. So, second half, and it's ironic going back to going back to Apple, or dedicating more listening to Apple Music. I'm about to get an Apple Classical app a little bit more attention again. I was in love with that app. I still am in love with it because anyone who knows me on a personal level knows Classical was my jam. That was my thing. And it definitely is something that I want to give a better listen and a better flow to. So looking to work on that for the second half as well. I've already mentioned it a little bit, so I'll kind of throw this in there now. There's a bit of a mindset shift. There's a pivot with how I'm moving, how I'm thinking, how I'm processing, because I've kind of been like a little bit freestylish, a little bit laxed, and I don't like it. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm not gonna not enjoy life or not enjoy opportunities, because my next bullet point goes into that, having more fun. I've been a little stern, which has forced me to be a little harder on myself. Ironically, the theme for 2024 has been receiving grace. We've been battling that a little bit here and there, but I'm not letting that be like the tell-all, be-all, like the permanent, livable way of the world or whatever. So I'm working to really get through that over the next few months. I'm still pushing, haven't found like a start point yet, but I will be pushing a lot harder on implementing the 12-week year process in place. Like I said, I did a audio listen of the book, and now I want to like actually sit down, read the book, really rip it apart, really make sense of implementing the 12-week year, even have the workbook. I found like quite a few templates related to the 12-week year. Finding planners, probably will be having a digital, and Special will love me for saying this, a digital Franken planner. So I'm looking forward to that and kind of making things roll. My trainer's manager and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago. And we were talking about different ways to like, get thoughts out, how to write out your ideas. And there's a phrase and there's a term that everyone's been using, but everyone has not really deep dove. It's been deep dived to some extent, but it's been made so complicated and so bombarding that a lot of people have been unsure to do it. I've probably talked about it on episodes before. I know I've talked about it in my newsletter. Check that out if you get a chance. brightnewsletter.wordpress.com. Possibly maybe looking to get the domain for that soon. Keep you all posted on that by far. But one of the topics is about brain dumps. Brain dumps, for lack of a better term, is you open a notebook. You can do it on a piece of paper individually, doesn't matter. And you get a pen or pencil and you start writing out what's in your head. What happens is, as people, we are carrying around hundreds, if not thousands of thoughts on a frequent basis. The problem with carrying those thoughts is you're carrying them, but you're not doing anything with them. So, for example, I've shared and talked about numerous times working on my Udemy courses. I can't work on my Udemy courses if I'm not committing myself to working on them. A lot of people have love-hate relationships about task lists, reminders, whatever you want to call it, however you want to group them or however you want to categorize them. For many people, tasks, checking off boxes is an entire world of its own. And not many people realize how valuable it is to have that space and that opportunity to really get what you're facing or working on completed. Because once you know and once you see or realize that it's completed, now you don't have anything that's holding you back from like, well, why didn't I get this done? And it's like, well, you did. You got it done. You just need to check it off and say, I did it. And for many people, the I did it part is like the best confirmation in the world. So taking those opportunities to finish those things is so helpful and so valuable. Shout out to my old school water bottle. This is probably one of the first water bottles that I was like big into a couple of years ago. I won't sit it on the table because it will cause a nice little sound, but it's a Walmart brand towel. So Walmart has two water bottle brands that a lot of people sleep on. A lot of people have their love-hate relationship with Stanley. I fully get it. So if you're not trying to spend that type of money, go to Walmart, they have the Ozark brand, and they also have the Tal water bottles. Tal is Tal. There are things that I don't like about both, but they're not negative to the point of if you just need a water bottle or a cup to fulfill either drinking coffee and or water or tea, or you just want an outright water bottle that's BPA free, that is leak proof. Because a lot of companies now with bringing in containers, their main focal point is making sure it's BPA free. And most importantly, like it's not in a position where if you left it somewhere, somebody could mess with it and it will be noticed. Little stuff like that. Like I've worked in places and that's been a big deal. So I'm kind of bouncing on a couple topics, but these are all things that I'm thinking about right now and just sharing with you all, as well as, like I mentioned earlier, brain dumps will surprise you once you get in the habit of doing them. Now, let me be 100% clear, because I know my digital folks are going to think that, oh, well, you can't, you can do them digitally. And I'm like, yes, you can do a brain dump digitally. And I'm not going to tell you not to do it digitally. If you choose to, and that's an option that's feasible for you, by all means, go crazy, do what you got to do. I'm just sharing from a personal standpoint. I have found that many times you got to bring it back to what works. There is a IT manager who I work with, who ironically has the same name as me. His is spelled the right way, since mine is spelled the wrong way, but we won't get into that. But anytime we have meetings or anytime he's walking around, he is always going to have a notebook and a pen. And many people who are, especially when you're thinking, and keep in mind, let's go back to what I just said, IT manager. So when you think in IT, it's automatically, oh yeah, digital. And it's like, digital is great. Digital is resourceful. I'm a digital guy to the core. Like I've been pretty much working with IT or in the IT bucket of some sort, even if it wasn't with an actual company, just doing anything related to computers for over 30 years. So when you are in that position now and you think of like, okay, I got to go back to what I know. Like I have so many different things, different items that I use to write out tasks or do brain dumps. Like there is a company called Minimal Desktop Setup or something like that. And how I got connected to them was so random, but it worked. They had an accessory out because anyone who knows me knows I love timers. I'm a big timer guy to the core. Shout out to Pomodoro. The Pomodoro method is goated in my book. And there's adjustments and modifications you can make with the Pomodoro, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. They have a timer that has 2 separate time options on it, meaning that you can have one timer set for one time and the other one set for a totally different time. And you can either have them run consecutively, which I don't think would be a good idea, or you can have them run opposite of each other. So for instance, you can set the top one to 25, set the bottom one to 5. Or if you're doing like the full Pomodoro method, as most people do, you can set them for their respective times. And then when you finish the 4th set, you can adjust it to 15 minutes and go take a break. Or, which I have mine set now, because when I turned it on yesterday and I was like, this is set for 45-15, which is one of my preferred ways to do Pomodoro. I will do a 45-minute block and just go. I've done 52-17, which is 52-minute work, 17-minute break. There's a science, or there was like studies that have shown that that's like a good sweet spot of like working versus breaking. So I've done those as well. I've done 55-15. I think, on Be Focused, the Be Focused app, which by the way, if you are wanting a good timer app, I would recommend that one if you're doing it from your phone and don't want to buy an actual timer. They have it where you can set it to different times, increments of 5. So I did 55-15 and I like it. But I'm all over the place. So they sold a timer. So I bought that timer, love it, use it, still value it. Yes, I know I'm tick time and I know I got the basis timers as well. I utilize them in different locations and in different instances. I share that story because fast forward a couple of months ago, I went back to their site and they were selling a task and time package, which was task cards, I wouldn't even call it an EDC, but they have like a pencil that I would consider as like your limitless pencil, where it's got lead that you got to do some crazy type of writing to run out of lead with that pencil. And then they give you a stand to hold the task cards for each day. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, why would you want to use a pencil if you can use pen? There might be some stuff you might want to change. You can use an eraser to clear up anything. But I have done those cards, and when I'm in that space of doing and using those cards, it has helped tremendously because there's detailed information for each card. Like you can put down the amount of time you work during each hour, almost giving yourself a score for the day, stuff like that. So I like those features and those resources for that by far. But going back to my original point, that resource or that item is an example of brain dumping. It's a different unorthodox form of it, but it's still brain dumping nonetheless. And the times that I've done it or the times that I've used it, it has definitely been a good resource of like, okay, I got this done, scratch it off. I got this to work on next. Let me set my timer, work on my timer, knock this out. And again, you can do brain dumps. They can be structured. They can be chaotic. You can write just random notes on a piece of notebook paper, and it'll be just fine. Or loose leaf paper for my OGs, and you're good. You just want to find that way to like make it work to your advantage. So that's kind of a long-winded discussion / breakdown of the how we worked things out for the first half of the year.
the mindset shift / the pivot, learning to have more fun, allowing the inner child to be an inner child, or giving the inner child space to come out and have fun and unwind a little bit. It's a good thing once you give that opportunity, you'll be amazed at the results. And finally, brain dumps. So some things to consider and some stuff to possibly work on. And like I said, if you need to reach out, if you go to the top of the show notes for this podcast, there will be a link for to send a text message. You're welcome to text in, and I will, if it's something worth discussing on air, we can talk about it on air. If it's something you just want to send as a reply, I can reply to it personally and go from there. One last tidbit, and then we're going to get into some sports a little bit. It has been a little over, if not 6 months, that I've used the brick accessory. And I will tell you, in the nicest way possible, it is very helpful if you are trying to properly detox yourself from the digital world. And I'm not just saying it because I have an affiliate link. That's not how I function by a long shot. If I don't like a product, I don't like a product. The end. I'm not going, there's no two-stepping with me on that whatsoever. The first few days that I got it, I was unsure how to utilize it the way I wanted to, because I wasn't sure how it would work in my day-to-day. As time progressed and I started to do 24-hour stints, 48-hour stints, close to 72-hour stints of just not having my phone where I can access all of these apps, it really made a difference. I got to get it locked down a little bit more, either between the browser. There's also updates coming where you can pretty much have it to almost lock just about any website, certain websites that you're trying to go to. So I'm thinking about it on that level too. At some point, because I don't really use it that often on my laptop, on my phone, trying to cut the Mozillas off, because having Mozilla and the privacy or the focus mode, it's not called focus mode. It is, hang on, y'all, my bad. Because normally I would have it, because there's like two different variations of Mozilla. And I pretty much use both of them in some way, shape, or form. Firefox mode Focus. So Firefox Focus is almost like it's their version of incognito. But the good part is, like, you can browse and do whatever you're going to look for. It's not going to put you in a position to open a whole bunch of tabs. Plus, the undercover value of it is the fact that you can literally place your once you're done with what you're doing, you can, like I say, you can delete the tabs or delete whatever you have open. I don't think you can open multiple tabs in it. It clears its own cookies once it's completed. There's a lot of like good features with that browser. That still has remained my primary go-to browser. I tried to do Opera GX or Opera Gaming. I don't think we're gonna work out, but I tried it. I gave it a go. It did what it needed to do, so we're good with it. But outside of those things, like the brick accessory, when used properly, is great. Now where my learning comes in is, okay, the phone is bricked. The brick has been placed in a different area. Now it's a matter of not reverting to, I got my iPad, so let me just go in there and use it. And that's like the next layer or the next level, because it is one of those things where if you're given an opportunity or an open moment to do something, you're going to do it. Who's not going to take an opportunity to like browse on a larger screen or watch a video on a larger screen to do whatever? So it's those things like that where it becomes like the bigger adjustment, but the screen time has definitely been noticeably different. I'm on average most times, under 6 hours a week. And for many people, the first thing they would say is, well, I mean, what are you doing? Like, what's getting you to that amount? Going on the browser, checking other, going other sources. It's not phone. Like, phone calls, FaceTime don't affect your screen time. A lot of people may or may not know that. Even when you're off the grid, people are still going to connect with you or converse with you like you're on the grid. So you're going to get notifications about Instagram. You're going to get things about, other apps. But it's not coming up on that phone. It's coming up on my iPad. So I'm like, oh, let me check what they said or stuff like that. So trying to really buckle down with it has been like an adjustment without being an adjustment. But we've been able to work through it. And like I said, I don't have any ill will or malicious intent about the product. It's a good product. If you are looking to get one, like I said, there is a link in the show notes related to it. You can get 10% off. And again, you can get more than one, because you might want to set one up at home, one at work. You may want to set one up like on the go. I think a resourceful way of doing it that a lot of people don't think of is lock your phone, give the brick to somebody else. And the person who has it now is your factor of getting to what you need to get to. If you want to get to all those other apps, then you got to get that person to give it back to you. But if they're giving it back to you, then you're going to be back online with the proper intention and the proper mindset. That should be the goal. That should be the plan. But of course, like anything, easier said than done. So that's my 6-month overview of the brick. Again, hopefully very soon they'll be adding some updates to make it where it will be workable and a full usage in the full smart world ecosystem, aka it'll be on both iOS and Android. And like anything, it takes time, because it's a relatively new accessory, and then once they're able to figure it out, hopefully it'll help the other third-party app that's doing it. And I think why I like it the most, and I'll say this and then we'll move on. I do like the fact of using the accessory, but it also trumps the screen time feature that's hard baked into iOS. The hard baked iOS screen time feature is garbage. It has been garbage for the longest time, because if a person wants to get through that first wall of, oh, let me get another 15 minutes. Oh, I'm just going to stay on for the rest of the day. If you used up the 15-minute window that you have to use social media, and it's done by like 12 in the afternoon, you've got the rest of the day to now be on social media because you're not being as disciplined. Whereas with brick can become challenging, but it becomes worthwhile. And I've done this plenty of times. I will brick my phone through the day. When I go to the gym, the brick accessory itself stays at home. My phone is with me. And how a lot of videos, there's a video online that showed this, and this clears it up. And like I said, I'm going to get to the next thing. You take a smartphone, you add the brick to it, the features of brick, you shut down whatever apps you need to, it equals having a flip phone, or it equals having a dummy phone. And now you're not in a position where you're having to like change widgets. You're not having to make all these extra, you're not having to do more than you need to. And then you're only needing to access what you have to get to what you're in need of. Like one thing I would probably, and I'm indifferent about it only because I use it very often, I would probably block Amazon. No, not Amazon. Amazon is already blocked. Gmail. I wouldn't have Gmail be as accessible as it is now. Like, it's accessible once I break my phone, but I'm like, I would love to like have Gmail not be accessible. Google Keep. I don't really use Google Keep a lot when my phone is bricked. I use Notes. I don't use reminders. I could probably go without Google Calendar. And the reason I'm saying a lot of these now is because if I'm in front of a computer and I really need to get to those applications that bad, I can go to a browser and open it, or I can use my tablet if I have to. So those are things to consider as I'm talking this out with you all. That's similar to what my friend did on the show yesterday. So that's what I have for that. We're going to move forward. Again, like I said, this is going to be basketball. I'm going to try to keep it brief, but who knows? Y'all know how it go. It can go any direction at any time. So a little over a week ago, the NBA draft happened. Number one, before we go into this, I want to talk about this now while I'm thinking about it. I did not know that the draft was going to be 2 days. I'm not going to sit here and say it was scripted. I'm not going to say there's any conspiracy theories because I don't have any of that type of ideology or thought process. But it was ironic because the first day of the draft, a lot of players got drafted. We knew a lot of the guys. Some of them were some household names. Rob Dillingham, Connect from Tennessee, good shooter. There were the first two picks were both France born, so that was pretty huge. Sarr, I believe he was in OTE, so seeing him go to the next level is going to be good. Washington is going to be a rough run for him, but it's an opportunity. And on top of that is you have your power and your control. So if you get to Washington, ride away with that rookie contract. If you got a 4th-year option to buy out or to leave, look, give me my 4th year and then let me test the free agency. And then the other part of it too, and it's not even a bad thing because it may not happen to any of these guys. Folks will get drafted in the NBA draft, and in 4 or 5 years, they may get like one little contract, but then they are gone. A lot of guys don't last very long in the NBA. A lot of guys don't last long in athletics and sports, period. But, the NBA, you really notice it because it's a large but a small product for the players as far as how many players you have. Because there's give or take like 300 players in the NBA. And it's just something, it just comes with the territory. You could say 350 because you think of like reserves, you think of guys who are on 2 ways, you think of the net. I keep calling it net 10, but it's like an exhibition 10, I think is what it's called, contract. You have those experiences as well. A lot of notable players got drafted. A lot of guys weren't picked up on the board. They ended up getting pulled in free agency. I did not watch the draft directly on TV. However, I was watching it through a streaming source. It was on YouTube. There was I believe Bleacher Report, or there was another comp group who they were showing the drafts, the players being drafted as it happened. So 54 was the Boston Celtics. I don't remember who they picked, but everyone was thinking it would be interesting if Boston drafts Bronny. Boston doesn't draft Bronny. So then we get to pick number 55. And before you could even breathe, blow your nose, do anything, social media went haywire. Bronny's drafted by the Lakers. LeBron got his son in the league, and he's going to be playing with his dad. And nepotism was involved, and this and that. And they staged it so he would play. And Rich Paul told the other teams if they drafted Bronny, he was going to go to Australia and play basketball. Let's really layer this down and scale back a little bit in really understanding like sports and just business as a whole. We're not gonna do father. We're gonna do parents. If your parents are in a multi-million-dollar opportunity and they have the potential to put you in a position to make multiple millions of dollars or streams of income, you're not going to take advantage of that? You're telling me you're not going to utilize that opportunity to get to the next level? And I know a lot of people will be like, but I'm not LeBron James. And it's like, you don't have to be LeBron James. If you're a person who gets an opportunity to get your child to the next level, because what they do once they get there is on them. It's less about him and more about it's less on the parent and more on the child to do what they're supposed to do. Lots of children have played in the league, in the NFL and hockey and baseball, you name it. And a lot of them have been trash. It happens. It comes with the territory. If Bronny has a great season, great career, awesome. If he doesn't, I just don't need people to be like, see, this is why you shouldn't have been picked up. And it's like, let's scale it back a little bit. Let's really pull the curtains back on this for a moment. Jerry Jones' son is part of the Dallas Cowboys organization. Jerry has won 3 rings over 20 years ago. His son may not win a ring as the owner or president or whatever title he has under the team. But he's still getting paid. He's still going to have a job. Regardless of him being picked, not being picked, how it all went, where he should have gone, how it all should have worked out, whatever the case may be, let him be. Stop. Like, I think people throw themselves in the position of, well, I don't see how, I think it's just messed up because it couldn't have been. And I'm like, but it won't you. Let them have their moment. Let it be celebrated. I think it's a great thing for him. I think it's a good showmanship of, okay, you ready to play in the NBA. Let's put up a shut up. JJ Redick is going to have his hands full as a coach, but that's what comes with coaching. And to add insult to injury, it's a major market team. It's the LA Lakers. It would have been a rougher situation if he went to, say, a Detroit Pistons, any other team, any teams that were like not playing good basketball, but they brought him in trying to like get a handle on the game. That would have been a lot for him, especially because there's pressure on you because you're LeBron James' son. So hopefully, like I said, first year, like every rookie goes through a rocky first year. I don't care. And rocky can be different for the player or the size or the stature of the player. But, I mean, obviously you got rookie. You know, if you rookie of the year, you had a good year. But there's some guys who are like in those conversations that don't really have like the best start off when they join the league. But then as the years progress, they learn the game and they understand how to play the game at a high level. He has that opportunity just like everybody else does. My hot take, which I may have to eat this one, but we'll see what happens. I think Scottie Pippen Jr. is going to play more games in the NBA than Bronny. I might be reaching, but it's my wild card that I've been sitting on for a while. NBA free agency happened. The Splash Brothers are no more. They have brought in Buddy Hield instead, and I'll explain all that in a minute. Golden State was not able to really get a deal put in place to keep Clay. You got to think of age. You got to think of father time, obviously, a.k.a. age. And you also got to think of return on investment for the player. They got 4 champions for him, with him being there on the team. So that's something. Like, let's scale it back a little bit and let's not sit here and think, oh, man, they just let him go and it's just going to be downhill. It's like, no, they got great quality work out of him as a basketball player. The numbers didn't come together, so he was able to they did a sign and trade to send him to Dallas. It doesn't mean Dallas is automatically, I mean, Dallas has a chance to get to the conference finals. I'm not sure if they're championship, like finals bound from him coming over, but who knows? I could be wrong. And like I just mentioned, Buddy Hield is going over to Golden State. I'm trying to think of any mate because there was a lot of movement. Oh, DeJounte Murray going to New Orleans. That was an odd trade. I don't know if they did that because Atlanta didn't get who he thought they should have got or something. I don't know. But he's been wanting out for a while. LA did no moves. PG went to Philly. PG going to Philly is just a drop in the bucket. Harden did get an extension. Chris Paul going to San Antonio, I think, is going to be huge because it's going to help. It's kind of almost like giving Wemby an understanding of if you're needing someone to get you the ball where you want it to work in your favor, here's how that's going to work. Chris Paul was not really able to show us a lot in Golden State because he was more so handling the second unit. And that was just what we were going to expect. There was no other fancy, funky, funny way of putting that on paper. Those are all of them that I can think of offhand. The PG to Philly trade, the PG to Philly storyline is kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, great. Durant wants they're trying to push this idea that Durant wants out of Phoenix. Not really much on the table for it. Trae Young trying to go to LA. It's been a tough show, but it is what it is. Just kind of making it be one of those things. So teams coming together to do what they're doing is one thing, but until this all actually plays out and when the season starts, then we'll see what all happens. So that's the NBA free agency as a whole. And I just want to be sure that I gave you all that update accordingly. Last week, I was able to listen to Marsha Ambrosia's new album, Casablanca. It is a 11-track album, 48 minutes long. This is one I know a lot of y'all are like, wait, you're doing a music breakdown on the podcast? It's like, yeah, this album deserves a breakdown. If you like nostalgia as far as samples, you properly utilize samples, check out the album. For everyone that was like ripping her to shreds about the Minnie Riperton riff, stop it. We know she's not Minnie Riperton. That's why there was one Minnie Riperton, rest her soul. But she's a great singer. Like, y'all gotta, and I think it's so bad because like a lot of people, and I know a lot of people, even with me saying that now, they can be like, she's not really a great singer. I think so-and-so is a better singer. And it's like, that's fine. You're not wrong if you look at another artist and think they're a better singer than her. But on the flip side, you gotta still call it what it is. She has done she has a huge stamp on music, whether people realize it or not. Like, we need to still remember she wrote Butterflies for Michael Jackson. Like, come on, y'all. Like, this is not that conversation we're gonna have. But she used quite a good sample sortage. I need to give it another spin because I think I kind of had it playing as like background noise initially, so I didn't really listen to it. But even in listening to it, it's a very enjoyable album. I definitely see it as like a re-rotatable album. Lucky Day has a new album out. I need to listen to it. That's also something I'm thinking about with this Spotify to Apple transition, is seeing how to embrace the Friday new music vibe. Do I hop in, pop out? No. It's 7 p.m. No, let me stop. So before I go any further, I was watching yesterday. There's a YouTuber, Frank Nitty. He's a basketball player. I don't want to just primarily make him a YouTuber because he's part of Ball Is Life. And they were doing, he did a video on his channel, on his own personal channel. And you hear him in the beginning where he's making a joke about singing that song. And I'm like, he's like, I don't know why I can't get this out of my head. And I'm like, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't really like the song that much my darn self. But for some reason, I've had more joy. I'm going to get into that. Ooh, I might lose some follows on this next part, but I've heard the song so many times, but I'm like, this is so like, why is I'm being pulled in by this song so often? It's similar to the Kendrick Lamar "They Not Like Us," which, by the way, random fact that many people may or may not know, the song has already been played. The video has already been played 24 million times. It's gotten 24 million views. That is huge. I could see it breaking 100 by Monday, if not Tuesday. I have not watched it. Again, I still have not listened to the song fully. I've probably ranted on the show about it. And it's not even that I don't like Kendrick Lamar, I don't like the song. It's just, it was played so much, and I'm not a person who's like, I gotta run to the flock and I gotta do it. And it's like, I'll hear it when I hear it. If it happens to be played and I'm like, all right, let me listen to it, then I'll listen to it. Like, I think not long, when the beef was in its early stint, a friend of mine, one of my coworkers, she was like, yeah, let's, he did a response. So he did Euphoria. So I listened to Euphoria. I was like, okay, I can roll with you. I liked it. It was a good taking some good shots and digs. But it's like, even with the video now, like, everyone is like, yeah, there's so many Easter eggs and there's so many references. And I was like, I'll watch it at some point. Because, like, people will come to me and ask me about certain stuff like that. And I'm like, haven't seen it. Sorry. And the bad part about it, I'm going to say these two things. And then I'm going to pass the message. One of my favorite albums, the two albums that I've played the heaviest from him were Damn and the Black Panther soundtrack. I mean, I know it wasn't his album personally, but he had a lot of songs on there. And two, most importantly, I think he's a good artist. I just play to the beat of my own drum sometimes. And it's not that I'm not like wanting to keep up with it, but I just don't do beef. I've never been like a music beef guy. It never has been something like, yo, man, I gotta go check this out because this the one right here. This the one that's gonna pull me in. I'm like, if I catch it, I catch it. If I don't, I don't. Like, everything, the wheel will still spin at the same speed. So I don't have as much of a. This is going to sound reverse of what I would normally say, but it's overwhelming based on social media, because it's like certain videos or this is what content creators do. And I've noticed how they do it too. They will put a video out and they'll have the song playing, but you'll hear like, and I'm like, okay, all right, I got it. Like, you want me to hear the song? That's fine, but I might like, I don't need it. Tony Baker said it perfectly. Him and Kevin on stage were doing like the intro, and the song came on, and he was like, turn that shit off. Just turn it off. He's like, I'm tired of this song. And I was like, and it's not that I don't think it's going to be a good song or that it's not a good song. But it's like, certain times, if you've heard something enough times, you can get worn down by it. Like, case in point, there's a young lady I'm following on Facebook. She is not very understanding of the hype and the lore of Keith Lee. But on the same token, she's like, well, I'm not really on TikTok. I'm like, so there's your problem. If you're not where the storyline started from, then you're just coming in looking at, oh, he had this happen with Taraji P, along with the fact. And then it was like, I think it's like when people say stuff like that, but then they turn around and it's like, yeah, because I'm on here, I get online, I'm scrolling back and forth between Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And I'm like, but you just said, I was like, you know what? This engagement thing has gotten people's mind like out of control. And before I pass the message, I'm going to share this with you all, and you're probably going to hear this a day later. But even still, this is going to be a thing for most of the summer. It is currently 92 degrees. And on this widget, it literally says, and I quote, excessive heat warning, which in layman's terms for me means do not leave things in your car that you need and put them at risk. So if you have your phone, take your phone inside of a building. Do not leave it in your car, because I think it was yesterday. I went to Starbucks to edit 411. And when I edited the show, I got in the car, and I don't even think it was like, it couldn't have been, I don't even think I was 3 minutes from leaving Starbucks. My phone showed a message on the front where it said, emergency, it is hot. Your screen, basically almost like this phone is not going to function in this weather. By the way, and if anyone who's listening is an Android user, please send me what the screenshot shows when your phone is hot, because I want people to understand this and be aware of how serious this is. When your phone is to that point, and it's going to seem like a weird solution, but I promise you it works. If you have pants that have pockets, place the phone in your pocket. I know the first thing you'll say, but it's going to be hot. And I'm like, no. Your temperature, your body temperature is going to be lower than it's going to actually be lower than what the actual temperature is outside. So that means that if let's say it's 100, whatever, your body temperature is going to be likely lower than that amount. Because I know yesterday it was like 101. So if it's 92 and it's still hitting like that, and I'm like about halfway with my jug of water, so it should be fun. But all of that being said, man, just take care of the body, take care of the mind, and if you ain't got to be outside, keep it behind at home. Like, I'm so serious. Like, I came out today because I was like, I want to do the show and I want to get some stuff knocked out. I need to, I'm doing like one other thing, and then I'm going in the house, and I'm likely going to snipe a nap, get up, get active with, I may edit this show today. Who knows? We'll see. There's never any telling with me what I may or may not do, especially when it comes to like what my headspace is with like content. So yeah, that's that on that. Pass the message of the day. Don't overcomplicate the process. You can be given a notebook or you can be given a sheet, and it can say, do these things in this order. And for some reason, that particular set of instructions is too much for some people. And that's fine to some extent. But the reality is, if you were told 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now people are gonna have questions. We understand that. We're inquisitive people, not taking anything for granted or anything light on that aspect. However, if the process of the flow is, if you're looking at something that's outside of that scope, you're about to make it more than what it needs to be, and you're going to overcomplicate the process, and you may not even get the thing done because you made it more than what it is. Do what's within the constraints of what's provided. If you want to add some flair and some glitz and glam and you want to turn it up a notch, that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't do so and cause yourself more stress than you deem necessary. That's what I want you all to really hone in on today regarding that, because sometimes as people, we will find ourselves thinking we need to know more when we really have all we need to do what we need to do. And we battle ourselves because we're looking at it like, well, I feel like I'm missing something. And it's like, no, you have everything you need. Everything you need is there. So work with that part. And then if you're not sure following that, then you reach out. Then you start doing some research. Then you start figuring things out. Because sometimes if you do overcomplicate the process, then you'll literally It's literally like falling into a ball pit, but the bottom of the ball pit is like 4 feet. Yeah, 4 feet. I would say 8 feet, but I mean, you can say 8 feet because it's like thinking of a ball pit having like a deep end would be like, wait a minute, why are there so many? Like, why am I so far into this? And it's like I should be able to just get right out, but no, I can't. And that's what we do as people is we get deeper than we need to, and we make the process extremely more than what it needs to be, and we wear ourselves down on like a mental level, and it's unnecessary. And it becomes, as one of my famous words, if you've been listening to my Walkcast, you've probably heard me say this word numerous times. It becomes very taxing. So don't do the things that make you taxed out and burnt out. And that's what I want to leave you all with today. Do not overcomplicate. Do not cause things to become taxing. Value people for where they are, and don't judge them because you're not where they are, because they earned it. They did their part. Whether you like how they did their part, that's up to them. It's going to get exposed, and a lot of times we don't realize how quickly that thing can be exposed. But when it's exposed, voila, magic. So that's what I got for y'all today, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm going to share this last tidbit before we roll out. So I've been using Adobe Audition at least, I'll say 6 years. Today is the first time, and let me backtrack. I've been using it for over 6 years. In the last couple of months, I just started using the radio production / podcasting tools for doing sessions. Today is the first time since I've used this program that they actually have the baked feature in of your, you can add your metadata. So for those of you who don't know, when you upload a podcast, there are different tags that you can add to the actual audio file itself. So it's tagged, and if anyone, let's say someone tries to download the podcast somewhere, they're going to get all the tags that are tagged on that show. Now, if you know how to mess with it and adjust tags, good for you. You've done amazing work. But anyone who doesn't have a clue with any of that stuff, that means that the original person, aka myself, I tag all my stuff to make sure you know that it was my content and not someone else's. But I'm saying all that because you can now go in and add all of this information directly in Adobe Audition. And I was like, how have I not known this? And I've been using this app for this long, but you learn something new every day. But with that being said, I wish you all well. We'll be back with another show soon. And until the next show, because we're usually doing these now every 2 weeks, the next show we may have some sample sizes because I believe Bronny plays tonight. And we'll also be getting a peek at some of the other prospects or other draftees from the 2024 NBA draft. But until next time, y'all take it easy. BT signing out.
Truly hope you all enjoyed the show. Definitely was a lot to unpack, but I know you'll walk away with something important. As I share at the end of each season, do find your way to get into podcasting if it's something you would like to do. My podcasts are currently recorded via Buzzsprout. Been very good to me. If you want to learn more about using them, definitely hit me up at thepassbtpod@gmail.com. And also the microphone that you're hearing me on is the Blue Yeti X. Have been rolling with it for over 3 years. We've been doing this ride for quite some time, so I hope someone could find this mic useful. Again, find those people who are good or helpful in what you're trying to do to be better today than you were yesterday. The primary goal is to be 1% better. Hope you all have an amazing day, and we'll be back again to do this next time.